G'day and welcome to the Hunting Connection podcast. My name is Zach Williams and I am your host. Here we'll connect you with hunters, fishers and outdoor enthusiasts from around the globe. This podcast will share hunting and fishing stories including past experiences and tackle the tough hunting stereotypes our community faces. We hope to be a positive influence to those outside the community while also having a laugh along the way. Hope you enjoy the podcast. G'day and welcome to another episode of Hunting Connection podcast. On this episode, I've got Rob, the Venison Diplomat. How you going?
Good. I'm just getting everybody with tongue twisters.
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
like Rob Baldinger, the last name's not very common and can be a bit hard to pronounce. And then, the Venison Diplomat. There's something about how the tie-in of the into the venison for us Aussies is kind of a bit of a challenge, but thanks so much for having me. It's really nice to be here.
No, all good. Yeah, I knew I was going to stuff it up anyway. I'm not the best speaker, so
it's more genuine. You haven't sat back and tried to practice it 10 times over. It's a genuine pronunciation of the Venison Diplomat, which I really like. I've always loved that title, that tag. That just kind of came to me one night.
That's awesome. Well, we'll jump straight into it. How did you get into hunting in the outdoors?
Well, I guess probably there's two questions there. The outdoors, I was always into. Like, I was a Boy Scout. I spent, like a lot of kids growing up, in that sort of peri-urban or edge of the urban area. So I grew up in Western Sydney originally, and we had bushland right there. Like, we were the last suburb before you hit the bush, and so we'd be bike riding, catching geckos, catching tadpoles, trying to grow them into frogs, making, building jumps. So always traveling around with a shovel on the handlebar, going into construction sites for houses and taking bits of timber and stuff to build bases in the bush, and just all that kind of stuff was always there. And then Scouts got me into the camping and the hiking and paddling down the Murrumbidgee over 3 days, that type of stuff. Then as I got a bit older, I found a few mates at university that were kind of into it too, and we would go and do hikes. So I've done quite a few hikes around New Zealand and Tasmania, the Overland Track, and other ones sort of around northern Sydney and things like that. So it was always there, and it was this kind of getting into like post-uni work life, got a missus, engaged, and then just like, you're just working, and you've got a young relationship that's sort of building, and you're looking at getting a dog and a family, and you kind of put all those things aside for a period of time. And I was really having some, work was really hard. I had some stresses and challenges, and my health wasn't so good where I was living at the time, around Scone, which is in the Upper Hunter area of New South Wales. So I thought, I'm just going to go out for a hike. I go back to what you know and what makes you happy. So I went into the national park, parked the car, just went off the beaten track, just started cruising, crossed the creek, started following a fire trail. And as I'm walking up this fire trail and I'm huffing and puffing because I'm out of shape and asthma's playing up, I turn this corner and there's this fallow buck. And he's just feeding away on the sort of fresh bit of grass on the side, and he just puts his head up. So I think it was around that February, March. So he had hard antler, but still on his own, and kind of maybe just separated from the bachelor helmet, kind of, which I didn't know any of this at that time. And he puts his head up and just looks at me, and I just kind of stop and look at him, and I had that moment of like, shit, there are deer in Australia, which maybe I knew subconsciously but never paid any attention to. And he's looking at me. Do I run away? Do I take a photo? Do I run after him? What do I do here? We just kind of had that moment. And when they do that, when they're looking at you and they peer straight into you, they got that upright kind of triangular head, and they just kind of look right into you, and they just do an assessment. It doesn't take them long. And he knew that I was no good, and he just gave me a little bark and just barked, turned, jumped the fence in one skip, and just melted into the bush, and not a sound. And I just had that kind of moment of holy, just this kind of super excited, just absolutely pumped. And I went chasing up to go see if I can get a look at this thing as it retreated, but it was gone, melted away, like it never even existed. And that just got me on this kind of like firstly, okay, deer in Australia, all the different types. I'm on YouTube. Suddenly, I'm watching hunting videos. Suddenly, I'm buying books and reading books, and with slippery slope. Like I just, well, is that the term? A rabbit hole. Went down a rabbit hole, and there was no coming back out of it. It tapped all the things of my upbringing, and at a time in life where I needed to be outside and doing these things. And I had this kind of thing in me, the type of work I was doing in the mines and stuff like that, it just wasn't exactly me. And I just felt this like wanting to, and I've always kind of had that a little bit with relos in the farming side of things and that connection to where your food comes from. And it all just instantly merged together. And I was in 100%. And I've been in it ever since. And it's just taken me through all these other journeys, like that kind of focus on being near these places has changed where I live and the type of work that I want to do and where I want to be. And then it's changed how I eat. I was much bigger then. I've lost a fair bit of weight from just that type of lifestyle and wanting to prioritize my health so I can do the things that I want to do, and using that as a compass. And then just, I guess, getting into then like bush poetry and different writing and writing articles. And then it just kind of then took me down that journey. Like I had something that I wanted to talk about, and it's all I talk about, or all I talk about to people who will lend me that ear, So here I am, after that kind of journey. And this is within the last 10 years. So we call that rapid, but I've tried very hard to start. I started with deer, but I've tried to kind of really restrict, like put some gates up on myself and make sure I didn't go from like trying to chase really, like go really hard at it and go straight to bows or go straight to like really big deer. Like I went fallow deer, learn how to just get them and use them for meat, shoot a pig if I can, shoot a goat if I can, go rabbits, start it really honestly and build up from there, and don't kind of go too hard too quickly, like kind of have that almost like the rite of passage that kind of comes with taking up something as serious as hunting.
No, that's awesome. So yeah, you covered my next question, which was how long you've been down this rabbit hole, as you called it, and it definitely, once you get that bug, it all consumes you, and I 100% get that, wanting to talk about it all day, every day, and you bring it up at any chance, and when people start asking questions about it, you dive straight into it, because I'm exactly the same.
One thing I kind of didn't mention with it, like, so I'm absolutely an adult onset hunter, as they describe it, coming in on my own life. So it wasn't something that was fostered by a family, though I had stories about dad and uncles and stuff, because everybody shot back in their time. Usually shooting cans or shooting for fun, or maybe like rabbits, pigeons, things like that.
Yeah.
Pigs, definitely. Things that were at the time were more accessible. Deer weren't quite there at that time, but I did shoot a little bit, and I'd done a few fox runs spotlighting, and I'd done some, looking for rabbits, and then shot down paddocks just shooting at targets and things. So I'd done a little bit of it. I wasn't I wasn't against any of this stuff. It wasn't like that big a turn. But it's pretty serious for someone who doesn't, to come in and I've already got a missus. She already knows who I am how we met, and then suddenly I want to own a firearm and I want to go procuring our meat. That's a pretty big leap for some people, and can be a too big a leap. And if you're not supported in that leap by your family, your friends, or particularly your better half, you're probably just going to end up hitting a wall. And so I got really lucky that I was married to a Canadian, and she's aware that in Canada this is a pretty common thing, though they're under fire like a lot of hunters can be. But I had parents that just always accepted, like they just knew that I would just pick the pathways I wanted to pick. They were just straight into it, like majority of my friends are pretty sweet. I reckon most of them, the main challenges they have is maybe there's a bit of the meat side of it, like maybe they're a bit kind of down, like, has it got worms, or is it not healthy, or is there some problem, and or mostly probably the firearm side of it. because the conditioning of people that have been away from that stuff for a generation or two is very strong, and it's getting stronger without advocacy and without really explaining it to people. And so I've had to have those kind of pretty serious conversations with friends about, hey, this is why I have it. I have it as a utility. I don't have it for the right to own one. It's not America, mate. Like, this is different. We do it because we are either collectors, we want to do targets, and we're really interested in being skillful at something. Obviously in the army, like necessity, or for hunting. And, we wouldn't have even think about like the rabbit problem and all the stuff that was resolved. World War II happened. Whoever was still here was collecting, shooting rabbits, trapping rabbits, doing whatever they could to tin them and send them overseas. Like, we really, we need it. And I think a lot of my mates kind of getting that. It's like, people need to be doing this stuff. And as long as it's the reasonable, lawful, abiding people who understand that if they do the wrong thing, they're going to get in a lot of trouble and probably lose their guns, lose their license, the car will be impounded. Like, all these things that come with it actually makes, in my opinion, makes people more lawful.
Yeah.
What's that extra step on top of just do it because it's right? You've then got to like do it because it's right, and because if I don't, I'm going to be in some serious trouble and lose the thing I love. So I've explained all of that and to them, and that kind of really helped. But this is what you go through when you come in as an adult. All of these moral and ethics and all these things that would seem really silly to somebody who's always done it. It's just there, and that's like hence why you'll know and why I'm here to talk to you about the stuff that I write from a perspective as somebody who feels like I need a way to, or you want to explain it, and how to explain it and how to do that is important, to kind of undo a lot of that has been done in the last 10 or 20 years to our way of life.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to take on for someone, who's getting into it later in life. I was fortunate. I grew up hunting, fishing, camping, just all of it with my grandparents and my mum and my stepdad and my dad, whether it was bow fishing or going out shooting goats with Pop, or, beach fishing, boat fishing, just everything. I was, and because I was exposed to it so young, I was that kid that didn't like sports. Everyone's like, oh, I went and played footy on the weekend. I played cricket. I played basketball. I'm like, I don't care. I went and shot firearms. I helped Pop butcher goats.
It was your sport. It was also your way of life. But and that's, I do live in, like, now that I know I've found the thing that I love. Like, I do live in a lot of like regret, but it's like weird kind of regret, because it's not for anyone's real fault or reason. It's just that the pathway wasn't there for me. I didn't know that it was possible. I didn't know that it was something I liked because I wasn't exposed to it. And that is the biggest thing that I kind of see with all of this, with myself personally, is just that, like, well, don't let it slip anymore. Like, pursue it, and help others pursue it if they have an interest. So anyone who comes to me who's got a genuine interest and aligns with me to a degree in how I want to approach it, I'm always going to facilitate and assist. And I think if all of us did that, we would turn the tide pretty strongly, because we've got the winning formula. Like, what we do as hunters, even if it's like trophy, or if you're a big dogger and you're doing it for a purpose, like, what we do is the right thing. We are the stewards of the land. We are the apex predator who's helping bring balance and contributing to the overall benefit of the nation, and often ourselves, our friends, our family, and others who benefit indirectly. And so I just know that it's right now, and I know that there's no argument that could ever completely convince me that what I do is wrong, because I've always got an angle on all of those things. And the way that other people do it, I will support them, and I'll talk about how they do it too, because I just know that there's a reason for it all, and it's not just the bloodlust completely. There might be a few of them out there, but it's so like minuscule.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, when it comes to hunting, there is that bloodlust aspect when you are in your like it's something that's not spoken about lots, but it is something that happens when you're hunting through your late teens, your early 20s. People just trying to rack up numbers. I've been there, I've done it. It's a part of it, but as you mature and age as a hunter, you learn more, you understand more, you become a more mature hunter, and your ethics and your morals and everything changes and goes up with it as you age and learn more about it, and you respect the animal. I've learned so much when it comes to just hunting in general, from the outdoors. It's amazing.
I think, as they've sort of expressed, the time and a place, like if there is something that needs that approach, then there are people that want to flex those muscles, and they should be given the access, provided they follow a set of rules, to do that. And so if you are that person, you should be doing fox drives. You should be going out Western New South Wales and Queensland for pigs. Like, you should be assisting with kangaroo, like license to harm kangaroo shoots when numbers are too high. Like all of these, there should be those. You should be bow fishing for carp every single weekend. Do you know what I mean? And just do it, even though it might not have you as one person doesn't have a huge impact. If there's 10,000 of those people across the entire country, there's something there. There's a number, provided they're given the tools and the access to do it. I truly believe that, and that's why I think even if you are that person and those people exist, they're necessary. It's not me. Like personally, if I go and a farmer really wants like a volume of numbers, I'm not that good, I'm not good enough as a hunter to achieve that. I'm not set up for the spotlight, deer mass kind of reduction in numbers, and I'm not really that interested because I'm really keen on the meat. And even with pigs, like I find it hard. Like I kind of would prefer to try and find the right pig to then take away, and so I'm not that person, but I'm still there. I'm still doing it, and definitely I'm not afraid. If I'm hunting deer and there's a fox, I'll shoot a fox. Like I'm not going to completely throw the entire. Like I'm happy to throw the hunt away if that's what I do, because I know I've just done some little thing to help out, even though it wasn't what I was out for, and it might cost me down the line on getting after something. And generally, it just doesn't though. I find like I shoot a fox and then an hour later there's a deer and I shoot it too. Like it doesn't seem to be a huge impact. These guys. These wild animals have to live these places. They have to eat, they have to drink,
Yep.
They have to breathe, they have to move around, and they're used to shots in certain places. They're used to the smell of people. Doesn't mean they're going to stand there and be dumb, but like you're generally not going to completely spoil everything by doing that. I find anyway.
No, opportunities definitely do prevent them. Show up after you have those things, and that's what I loved about bow hunting is you come across a rabbit, you shoot a rabbit. You come across a hare, you shoot a hare. You're not blowing the rest of the hunt. To say
I can understand that.
With a
yeah, I definitely aspire into that, and also just is a bit more peaceful in that way. And even some of the places I hunt, they're fairly peri-urban, and so you just every time you let a shot off, you know that everybody knows. And sometimes I've had the cops called and I've had to go out of the property and meet with them and explain, and that's okay. But when you're about to pull a trigger on something and you have that in the back of your mind, it definitely, like, I don't want to be a secret, but I also don't want to be bothered too much. Like, you really need to be focused when you're doing it. And like I told a story on a different podcast recently about when you lose that focus because I'm taking someone else out for their first ever hunt and I'm worried about their experience, and then suddenly I'm not thinking about exactly what I'm there to do, and then I get a shot that's too high or far back, and then the animal drops and you think, oh, great, how good is this? And then normally I would wait when I'm on my own, but the person's excited to go and see it. So we walk up and the animal jumps up and runs into the thick scrub. I don't have a dog. Can't find it. And that sort of stuff is like, when you have any little thing like that, the precision in what we do, particularly bow, has to be absolutely there. And there's so many things that can throw you off. Even thinking about, you left your kids at home and your wife for a day or two or a week or whatever it is, and it's in the back of your mind, particularly if they're having a hard time, and that sort of stuff can impact you when you're out hunting. What it does for me anyway. So you really got to kind of work on those things, the focus, and not being too distracted by all those other things. And I think bow hunting would take that to another level. I'm not there yet, but yeah, I'll get into it, and it'll be a source of inspiration for plenty more writing. That's for sure.
Oh, definitely. It's amazing fun. And, as you were talking about when you take new people out, I find that refines your skills, whether you're taking them out with a bow or a rifle. I've been fortunate enough to be able to take a bunch of different people out for their first hunt and, their first deer, their first goat, their first rabbit, their first hare, their first fox, from spotlighting, bow hunting to rifle hunting. So, I've been fortunate, but it makes you think about, because I'm at that stage where I don't think about much of what I do. But when you're there and you're having to explain what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then you're telling them, like, sometimes it gets frustrating. My mate Brad from work, he's been on the podcast. He's been spoken about a bunch of times on the podcast, but this past year he's had the opportunity to try and hunt fallow. He's taken his first red. He's shot and lost to Samba. He's been out with me hunting Brucer, so he's had a very, very good first real year of hunting. Not many people get to have the opportunity to chase after 4 different deer species in their first year of hunting. But we've made mistakes along the way. We lost to Samba. He missed a Samba stag, and it's just like little things. It's like not acquiring the animal in your scope fast enough, and you're trying to take your time, but you're trying to also not rush him. But it's like right there, and it's just like, why haven't you found it? It's one of these things where, and then mistakes happen, or and you have to go back and go, all right, this is what we did wrong, this is what I did wrong, this is what you did wrong, this is what we need to work on for the future. And it just makes you refine your skills.
Oh, and there's nothing more humbling than so if you're someone who's like super skilled at it as an individual hunter, then taking somebody else and then having to figure it all out again through their eyes just really challenges you. And I find the same with taking up something different. So I've been doing like ducks in the last few years, and with that means I need a shotgun and I need to be doing plays. And I found myself jumping in too quickly because I wanted to, go and hunt ducks. So I'm like jumping in, borrowing someone's side by side without really putting the time in. And then now I've started doing the clay stuff and just finding like just how much I need to figure out before I'm really like going to call myself proficient at it. And it's been super humbling because here I was at Buck's party, say 5 years ago, smashing every clay, but they've set it up so easy. But then finding my mates weren't really hitting many because I had just a little bit more skill from the rifle side of it than they did. But then going and shooting with people that actually can shoot like clay and shoot ducks, and going, holy moly, I'm so far away from where they're at. Like they're literally like, shooting ducks. They're not shooting ducks. They're shooting the head of the duck. Like they know exactly what they're doing, where their clay is going, what it's doing. And that's been super humbling experience. And what else do you do in life that makes you feel like a kid again, that you have to figure out from scratch? Like exposing yourself to that, it has to be good for your grey matter. And so for someone like yourself who's done it your whole life, I'm sure you're just also trying to find that next kind of challenge, because it becomes addictive then to kind of figure these new things out. I could live the same day 10 times over and do something different every single one of those days. It gives you a lust for life. Oh, it's pretty awesome.
It does. And it's not just the new stuff. It's like different species, or it's, the bigger one of the species, or a hunt you've blown. Like, I've talked about it a little bit on the last couple podcasts, but it's only because it's just happened. But I got access to this new property through a mate who works on it, and first time we went out there, we've come across a nice mob of young rooster, and we've put in probably a 600-700 meter stalk across open paddock. They had the wind was good for us, but the sun was setting behind us, and we're belly crawling our way through this crop. And we're slowly using the shadows of the trees as the sun setting, and it just got behind the hills and it's starting to come out, and we had a couple of fallow come out feeding. Then we had some reds come across, and then we had a couple of giant stags come out and join in with the rooster. And I'm getting, I'm like, oh no, I'm running out of time. Oh, I need to cut the distance. And I was about 400 meters and got down to 3. I'm like, look, I'm confident taking shots at 3, but I also felt rushed a shot and missed a giant rooster stag, and I was kicking myself. And for the next 2 weeks till we went back out there, I'm like, what could have I done different? I should have just tried to get closer, but the reds were watching me, and I just felt rushed. And new species, like, it's just one of those new learning curves. And then we went back out 2 weeks later, and everything that I played in my mind, we got onto another group of reds, and then some rooster come up and push them away, so we've put in a stalk at the rooster, and I'm like, all right, I'll get into 200, which is more than comfortable shooting, and nailed this rooster stag, and he's jumped the neighbor's fence and just disappeared. And I'm like, oh, gut wrenching. And then for the next 2 weeks after that, I was playing, I'm just like, oh, playing everything in my mind, what could have I done different? Like, it's just one of those things. We lose animals as hunters, not as much as we want every shot to be perfect. Not every shot's going to be perfect, and these things do happen. And then, 2 weeks later, I finally got my first rooster on the ground. It was only a little dinky. But I was just kind of I was stoked, and it's just one of those things. It's like, damn, like, you just play all these scenarios, like, leading up to that last hunt. Like, I think it was the Friday night before we left. The whole night I dreamt about rooster hunting, and it was just playing different scenarios that I'd thought about through dreams for that whole night. And I woke up the next morning like I hadn't even slept, but it was just all scenarios playing out over. So
it's funny, like, people use the counting sheep to fall asleep. We use the counting deer to stay awake. Never gonna fall asleep when you're thinking about deer.
Yeah, that's it. It's just one of those things, and people who don't get into it don't know what it's like. It's just crazy, like the friends you make. And I say friends, and it's weird because my wife thinks it's a weird thing that I've got all these friends that I've never even met. I speak to them daily, or a few times a week. I call them my friends, but I've never even met them. I'm just like, it's just something about the hunting community that's different, and especially if you've gone hunting with one of them, and you might have only gone hunting with them once or twice, but they're your mates. Like, sharing a hunting camp and going out and shooting something together builds like an experience, like a bond stronger than just a normal friendship, I think. Like, it's weird, but I don't know how to
you've trusted them with a firearm next to you. Like, you've trusted them in that way, and which is pretty, you've got to really be sure about the character of somebody and kind of have that feeling and knowledge with them. But yeah, you're right, there's just something about it, and I'm sure that it's probably a primeval thing that's existed in us for a very long time. It's just that it's finding your, people say find your tribe.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of goes a bit beyond just like finding someone who's also into like the same basketball team as you. It's deeper than that. And it probably comes right back to finding somebody who we shared a joint experience or do share joint experiences through the visual or chatting online and stuff. You just know, what that person does because you've done it, and you can kind of live in each other's shoes really easily. I definitely, there's that side of it I really do enjoy with it, because I didn't come in, like I said, with that kind of the tutelage, and I only got my first deer through the luck of finding somebody who was also into it through a conversation, who took me out to a property that he had and let me get my first one. And so that I take that now with me, like that. I take that forward with me now, and I pass it down the line when I can, because it's super important to be open like that and to kind of facilitate, because you don't know when it's going to come back the other way around again as well. And it does. It comes back in access. It comes back in all sorts of ways. You take them out, and then suddenly you got someone who wants to buy a firearm that you're going to sell. You don't even need to market it. Like, my first ever firearm I just sold recently to a guy who I'd taken out for the first time. And consequently, you're wearing a Lithgow arms hat. It was a Lithgow LA 102, like a 243.
Yeah, beautiful.
Amazing. I just loved it. It was so accurate. Just so heavy, but super well built. Like, it's just solid, It's a solid first rifle to play with. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a beautiful rifle. I was fortunate enough to do a tour of the factory the day after I shot that red we were speaking about before the podcast started. So I was, had Matt Jones on from Lithgow, and he gave us a tour around the factory, which was just eye-opening. Like, I don't get into cars or anything like that, but I felt like what someone would have been like walking through the Holden's factory here in South Australia when it was open.
And it's cool, and it's we've got to remember that it's not there just because it's been supported. Like, it's there because they're making quality stuff that is of value to both our national forces as well as overseas. But it's not going to exist forever unless it's supported. That's it. Yeah, I need to go. I need to look at getting another, maybe upgrade my 22 or. In the end, I went to 308. I just considered that for getting a bit of range, and did end up going for that hunting style and everything. But I'm not done with Lithgow. It wasn't because I didn't like what I saw and what I shot. I'm definitely going to be looking at it again.
No, they're a beautiful rifle, but Tikka's very nice too. What'd you get in the Tikka?
I went with 300 Win Mag, and nice. Just forgetting what the name of the
or the Strata.
Just give me a minute. No, I went Rough Tech.
Rough Tech, beautiful.
The stock, Rough Tech. And it's just a blued barrel. Like, it's probably, I live in a fairly coastal area, so I probably should have considered like stainless or something. But it's all learning, isn't it? And I just want, like, for me, it's a utility. I don't want to spend a huge amount of money to do what I do, because I just, like, I'm figuring these things out. And it's going to take time before I really find exactly the stuff that I do regularly and what I need. And that's part of that journey as well. Hence why I've just got like one of each thing that I need to do. I've got something for trap and shotgun, like for ducks. Got my 22, got a 30-30 lever action. That's for fun, because they're just so fun. An old model 94, just great fun. And then now I've sort of sold my 243 and got the 300 Win Mag, and I want to get some range. I want to get out a bit further because I'm planning a tar hunt next May in New Zealand. So I need to, do a bit before then to kind of be ready for that, and to be confident. And I think it'll do it. So I'm glad.
It will. I shot both of my tar with a 270, so the 300's going to be more than enough. I got a 300 Tikka in the Strata, and they're just a beautiful gun.
The guy sold it because it was too much for him, like too much gun, and so I had that going through my head before I shot it for the first time, a couple of weeks ago, because I only just bought it. And it wasn't that bad. I mean, I'm not a small guy. Like, I'm about 80 kilos or something. But yeah, it wasn't. They're just so good. Like, even with the standards, like muzzle brake that they've got on them from like factory muzzle brake, because even that, he upgraded the muzzle brake to like a Grizzly or something, and like, just because it was too much. And I was like, it was fine, man. It was like, for what you're putting out, the amount of like powder and the size of the projectile and that, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I'm more than happy to shoot one of these off every now and again, or go and put 5 rounds through to check the center. It was no problem at all. It's not like doing 100 targets at a clay club, like, which is pretty soft. You're shooting clay, soft ammo, but like I'm feeling it, because I just came back I told you before this, came back from a weekend down Malakuta shooting clays, and I can feel it, in my shoulder and my chest. So it's nothing like that. I didn't feel it. So because I've shot these stuff before, I've never owned any caliber bigger than the 30-30. So I've shot 270s and 308s of other people's guns a few times. Definitely prefer the 308 to 270s. I'm interested about what your thoughts on that. But 308 with the push, the 270 I shot had a bit of a jump, and I definitely preferred just being pushed by a rifle. In my mind, it felt like it was just more accurate, which is a bit of a funny. Maybe that's true. I don't know enough about firearms and how they operate to kind of pick that one apart. But the 300 Win Mag definitely gave me a nice push, and I like that.
Yeah, I can't, because my other main hunting rifle was a 270, so that's what I've got in the safe as well, and I can't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not great with firearms. I just.
I'm also probably I'm probably generalizing from limited experience too. Where I'm just like, I've had a couple of experiences of these different things, and I suddenly picked like, oh, this is why it's like that, and I don't even know what's going on, like completely new. So definitely not the person, if you want advice on firearms, I'm not the person to talk to. I'm very much go, okay, what do I need to do? Do a bit of research, pick something, stick with it. And usually I just trust someone who knows what they're like, someone who advises me, so you're probably going to be wanting something like this. Boom, I don't even second guess. I don't even look back. I just go, right, good. I've told them what my problem is, or what I'm searching for, and they've just gone bang. And I'm like, yep, same as picking like a guide for going over to New Zealand. It's just like, had a mate who's like, oh, I liked going with this guy, and I had a great experience. I was like, bang, I'm not even going to look. Like, I've got some,
so
so that's good.
You're doing a guided trip. You're not doing free.
Yeah, I'm going full, I'm going the way that I kind of do a lot of things, which is just, I've decided I want to do it, and I know it. If I wanted to do it the hard way, like self way, which is going to be cheaper, of course, and a different type of experience completely. But I just knew with what I had in the next 6 months ahead of me, with between work and family life and stuff, I was like, I just need to know that I'm just going to focus on being fit and being able to shoot out to a range that I'm comfortable with, and let the other person sort the rest.
Yeah, beautiful.
And that was a conscious decision, like spend the money to get a experienced guide, helicopter in, and really just spend the week being in the place. And I just want to be there. And we could get clagged out, and I could just be five nights or whatever of just sitting in the fog and rain and be miserable, but that's it.
That's part
and I
of
would
it.
have been miserable and hiking in, so it's kind of like, or hiking into misery and getting there being exhausted, and it's just crap. So I've just gone the proper full on, like, I'm just going to land and the guy sorts it out, and I'm on the journey, and you get as much of it out as you put in. So we'll be cooking together, setting up camp. Like, I'm not a lazy dude. Like, I'll be doing all these things. If he goes, well, let's go over to that other ridgeline and set up camp over there instead, we're going. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh no, I don't want to walk for one of my days. If he recommends it, I'll just go. I'm very much like that. Like to kind of work with people rather than against them. I haven't got too many hugely preconceived ideas, and so that's with this. And I might try and do some ducks, because their duck season starts early May as well, I believe, so start of May. So I'd like to do a bit of that. And again, chat to my mate who's super into ducks, who's recently been there, and he's like, chat to this guy. It's going to be sorted. So
yeah, they're crazy with their waterfowl over there. It's amazing. I've got a bunch of mates on Snapchat, and it's just, as soon as their waterfowl season kicks off, it's just
constant,
unreal.
just a flow. Yeah. And like, now I'm doing the clay stuff, and the hot barrel side of thing is fun with clays. Like, I really really do like, you really get to get shooting out of your system, and you get to kind of really humble yourself, like I mentioned. And with ducks and stuff, it's a bit of a hard one, because for someone like me who hunts primarily for meat, now I've chosen I'm spending a lot of money into another economy for a tar hunt, which is pretty much purely a trophy hunt. I'm looking for a Euro mount and a rug. Like, that's what I'm in it for, and I want to eat some. So but I'm probably not going to have the opportunity to really bring it back. And the ducks is very similar, so it does kind of push me to outside of the boundaries that I had originally set myself. So this is me now exploring something completely different when it comes to like morals and ethics. But I just love New Zealand. I love the people. And like, if this is how I can contribute to the success of hunting long term in that place and the culture that they've established, and take what I learned from that back here and really try to facilitate something similar here, if that's part of it, which is they love shooting ducks, and they have introduced ones that helps, and geese. But for us, if we love it, we need to conserve the habitat, help the ducks to breed, and so I'll probably go down, I'll probably come back and just be stuck with ducks. I'll be doing the rice field stuff because that's part of a farmer mitigation conservation thing, but I'll probably then be going to Vic, and then I reckon starting to contribute to what they do down there with the field and game, and starting to really get into that kind of setting up nest boxes and protecting habitat and contributing to that, because I think we have an opportunity as hunters to probably actually, particularly with native wildlife, to actually be able to contribute to the point where we probably create more game than we actually harvest. And I think ducks is a prime example of that, for sure. Like, we're creating more than would have existed because of the rice fields. So I feel like it's the morals of that is just so simple for me. It's like, well, there's too many. We've created habitat for them, so there's too many, and we've created food source, and then now they're contributing to sort of decimating that food source. So we probably need to keep control of the numbers, and the more ducks, the worse it is for the farmer, but the worse it is for the habitat, and the worse it is for the ducks, because botulism and bird flu and all these sorts of things are only going to be worse when you've got too high populations that aren't being predated enough and not kept as healthy as possible. So it's kind of, I'm kind of diving in even more, as there's just so many things you can do. Yeah,
there is.
As I said before, live the same day 10 times over and do it differently. That's my kind of mentality, and probably the main. I don't want to ever be the best at anything, but I just don't want to be the worst. And so often that means just do it. Like, even if you're not best at it, you don't have to be the best at it, but you're not the worst because you're not sitting at home on your ass.
That's it.
You're out there. Yeah. You're into it. And you understand it.
See, I've been saying that I was going to get into the ducks this year, but it's just time versus...
Sounds like you got a lot of other fish to fry, mate. It sounds like you got a lot of other fish to fry. You're really wanting... you're on the deer, so, and you're on the deer. You're trying to go all species and just other general targets, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's like I went to we have a fella that chucks on like a duck dinner here every year. Next year, unfortunately, it's not happening because he's had some health issues. But yeah, we went to it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go get my wit and do it all, and then I had just come around, and then I was focusing on my New South Wales trip, and then I got back and I was focusing on the fallow route, and it's just, god damn.
Yeah. I recommend even if you just doing the wit for the sake of doing the wit. Like, I loved it just for the learning. Like, I didn't really know anything about ducks in Australia until I did the wit, and now I'm teaching my kids about it, and we can talk like a woody. Like, we kind of communicate in that way, my kids, and like they're just learning so much more things that they would not have learned if I hadn't done that research, and learnt about non-game and game species. And now it's manifesting itself in an interest in duck hunting, and then propagating that interest to future generations, which I know we're going to get to at some point, but it's super important to me, all this stuff that I wish I learned when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's why we're here tonight. So let's jump into that. Hunting with your kids. How have you gotten them involved, and how long? And how old are your kids?
So I've got I've got two kids. So I've got a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And 2 and done, pigeon pair. So the older one's a girl, the younger one's a boy. And it's just perfect for us. We're ready for the next stage of life. And because I'm somebody who got into it as an adult, and I have all of my own reasons, and my wife's on board, she likes the meat and everything. She knows that I've studied all these things now on how to butcher and do these things. So we feed our family a lot of wild game, and we do prioritize that. But introducing them to hunting is a whole other mindset that I wasn't too sure how to do, because I didn't get a normal introduction. I got a societal introduction, which is usually you've got two choices. You've got Disney, we know which way that's going to send you, or you've got a family or friend or someone who introduces you in their style or their method. And I didn't really get that completely. Or maybe I did, but I didn't know I was getting it because all of my family at some point through previous generations hunted, fished, and did these things because everyone did. Yeah. One of the best parts about being in Australia. So when it came to figuring out how to introduce my children, I guess I've been doing it naturally as I go along. We watch videos together. I show them photos of deer, whether it's game cameras or whether it's deer I've shot. I've brought deer home and butchered, skinned them and stuff in front of my daughter at first, and now my son. And then we've gone out and done glassing for deer, and then recently I've started to go out armed, just in case. I mean, honestly, you don't really get many opportunities when you're with them, for various reasons, of course. They make a lot of noise. You're almost always not walking in dense scrub. You're walking out in the open. There's so many reasons why it doesn't work. But the younger the better, definitely, I've found straight away. Like same even with fishing, like get them on a backpack and go beach fish. I absolutely couldn't recommend that more. But with hunting, just going glassing, putting them in a bit of camo or a bit of hunter's orange for the fun of it, but then just going in with the binoculars and the little wind checker and just taking them for little journeys. That I've loved doing that. But yeah, the next step is getting a deer with them around, and I haven't done it, and it's probably more just a mixture of work, time, not because I haven't wanted to. I just haven't had the opportunity, but I think that'll come pretty soon. But I think it's also important that they see the process through other means necessarily before they see it in person, because then they can understand it in a different way. Like my young fella runs around going, "Dad, cutting the deer," because I butchered a deer the other day and he was around. But he's also, as we go hunting, he walks around saying, "Deer hunter, I'm a deer hunter, deer hunter." Like he gets it because he's read my book, or I've read it with him. So balancing all these things with that sort of exposure over time and getting him into it like that is how I've done it. And it's definitely been great because they get it now, but they're not both mad. They're not obsessed with like dead things necessarily. Like they just understand. They get it. Like, and so they'll be equipped when they're exposed to the other side, and the other side of these things, which they may get down the route of like not even wanting to eat meat. That's going to be up to them. But I just know that I've done everything I can to show them this pathway is possible and open up the doors in case they choose to do it. And that was super important to me as someone who sort of missed out on it a little bit. It was critical, absolute bare minimum. They have to be exposed to and they have to understand it, because this is important. People do not understand what it takes to get meat. They just don't get it.
They don't.
And they're like sometimes the people who are the most fiercely against what we do, which just is a complete mind-boggling situation, because you can't explain to somebody who eats chicken and beef and lamb all the time, but they hate that you kill things to eat. Like, what the argument is so simple, yet they just can't understand it. So I kind of want my kids to not be, that stupid. I guess. Or that against these things, to the point where they're against like me as and my way of life that I'm imparting onto them. This is our cultural family tradition now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I've got a 11-year-old stepson and a 5-year-old son. So it's for my 11-year-old. He's been out with me a couple times. A few times we've taken a couple deer together, taken him out spotlighting a handful of times, which I found was an awesome way to get the kids used to it, shooting rabbits, foxes, hares, and so he was able to get into it like that. He's going through that pre-teen stage now where it's just friends and games and soccer at the moment, so he hasn't come out as much, but he does enjoy his squid fishing when we get the opportunities to go out, and we go carp fishing quite a bit because it's almost a guarantee to catch something, so we do that quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's important for kids, of course. They do want a bit of action. Obviously 12 is the age to be able to be supervised hunting for ducks and other things. So, there's definitely that option there. But then, of course, then you're down the rabbit hole of clay club and the wit, as we've talked about, and all that sort of stuff. But learning it together would be an awesome bonding experience, I would feel. I feel by the time my kids get to that age where they're into it, like want to be into it, they've already been to the clay club many times, and they already understand all the ducks, and they're just going to ace the test, because by then I'll have gone through all of that. That's kind of my goal with it all. Did your so I've sent the book, and have they both boys, were they? Both boys looked at it?
Haven't gone through it with the eldest one. Like I said,
Okay.
he's my stepson, so we've got him 50% of the time, like 50-50. He's, like I said, going through that preteen stage now, so soccer obsessed. So that's his thing. I'm not gonna force hunting down his throat.
Don't squash it, no way. And also you've got another parent to communicate through as well, and definitely can't be forcing things.
No, that's it. So if he wants to get into it, he knows where to go.
Well, that's right. He's got a source. He's got a pathway. That's important.
The youngest has had no choice when it comes to it. He was born in early April, so he was less than 2 weeks old, and I had him strapped to my chest while butchering deer on the kitchen bench. So he's had no excuse. Just after his first birthday, he was out and checking trail cameras in a backpack with me.
It's really funny, because in one of the recent articles I make a joke about, like, is it really I'm trying to get permission from the wife to go hunting. Is it really that important that I've missed, my son's first birthday? He's going to have others. Like, it's that kind of, this is more important right now. And you're really in that world, because you're talking, and then you have an opportunity later. You got birthday hunts and stuff. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's a massive special treat. Like, hey, we're going to go destination hunt X. And if he's really into it by then, that's just awesome. Very exciting.
Well, both of us are in April, so it works out really well. He's the
right.
start of April, I'm the end of April, so we've got like a, prime rut hunt, and then, post rut hunt, so it will work out well. But yeah, like I said, he's had no option. He was coming along fishing, at a month old, and just had a rod in his hand every chance we could, and then he was holding fish, and he's eating venison, and like his first solid bit of meat was venison from the slow cooker. So it's just one of those things. So he's had crocodile burgers and buffalo and all of this different stuff, and he goes to school and went to kindy, and he's just like, I had crocodile burgers last night. I had buffalo sausages. I had deer. I had rabbit. Just
blowing the kids' minds.
All these teachers are like, yeah, sure you did. And then he like brings it up when I picked him up, and I'm like, yeah, nah, we got camel tonight, and they're just like, what? But yeah, like you said, you sent me a copy of your book, and him and I went through it today, and yeah, he absolutely loved it. The illustrations awesome, and that first page where it's got like all the bits and pieces on it, we went through what it was, and he could tell me what every piece of
each thing was. So. And it's really funny that I've had multiple say that, where the kid has kind of pointed and said rifle, binoculars, like, so that is a thing that's what they're called, vignettes, and that was kind of the intention of it, is to kind of, I was going to put taglines under each one for what they are to explain it, but then I thought, no, let the parent and the kid figure it out. Whether the kid knows, and if they don't know, the parent can fill it in, and if they don't know, they can look it up. But that's like maybe the third person I've heard that's what they've done as soon as they got to that page, was like, okay, this one, and the next book, it will have a similar format, but when it comes to studying the wit, you're going to have a leg up, let's just say, because you're going to be learning them as on that page of the book, which is such a cool way to figure it out. Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
I mean, your target market. So I'm not surprised that he was into it. And it's definitely like, he's exactly the right age, and he's got that background. So, I'm really glad to hear it, and that he liked it. And what about the words and stuff? There's definitely it's an adult poem that I originally wrote, so he understood.
Yeah, I didn't have to explain anything. He was good. and I really liked how you had like the information bits in it. So you had like the main poem story bit, and then you had like the information explaining, the deer barking and the croaking and stuff like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, because they're not common words, and I like, as someone who came in as an adult, like glass, didn't know what it meant. Croak. What does that mean? Like, and it takes you 5 seconds to really figure it out, like, because I'm an adult. And I thought, well, if a kid's going to read it and they've never, ever heard about hunting and never been exposed to it, and the parent too, they're not going to know. And the parent, they're going to be like, oh, what does it mean when it says they're croaking? And it's like, well, I'm actually not too sure. They wouldn't understand the sound, and probably still not, because this just tells you why they do it. But I guarantee you there are kids going on YouTube, or their parents are going on YouTube, because now kids can't. Parents are going on YouTube and showing videos of, fella do, like, doing that sort of stuff. And then next thing you know, the kids will be doing those noises when the parents are reading the poem, because that's kind of another part of it, another intent, is that it's onomatopoeic, like that as you read those bits that are in italics, that the parent or the kid can make the noise.
No,
They can roar, they can croak, they can bark, they can mew, like they can do those things through the book. Yeah.
That's awesome. You were saying that your oldest is like your oldest is a girl. Is that why you did the illustrations as a girl hunter? What was the story behind that?
So the story behind it was, so I've engaged an illustrator. Like, I'm not an illustrator. I wrote the book, and I produced it all, like provided direction for what each spread would look like what's happening on each spread. In, like, there's a hunter and they're looking up in the mountains with binoculars in their hand or whatever. Like, I give the descriptions. This is what the mountains look like. Here's some sample photos of the place where this is based. And when I said to the illustrator, like, what about the main character? And I said, well, look, because this is a person hunting solo in the mountains, they have to be an adult. I don't have a choice. Like, it's a legal thing, you can't be showing kids walking around, in Australia at least, on their own. So it's a book for children, yet there's an adult hunter. And you probably tell from the illustration, she looks quite young. So, could be 18, could be 21, could be, like, quite a young person. But I just said, the character can't be me. Like, don't make it, like, this isn't a vanity project, even though the poem was written in my voice, first person, from my perspective originally. It's not me, it's somebody else. And it's a younger person who's either getting into it for the first time, or they've come through and they're explaining why they do what they do. And he just comes back with a couple of sketches of characters. And I saw one of those sketches and immediately just was like, that's the character. And it was a pencil sketch. So that's her. And then, without really knowing at the time, when he colored it, he colored a redhead girl. And my daughter is a redhead girl. And when she first saw these images, because I was showing it to her as I was going along and getting illustrated, she's like, Dad, is that me? And then it was just hit home. I was like, well, I can't ever change that character now. I can't go back against it. So it was part conscious decision, but it wasn't by me. Like, he's never seen a photo of my daughter. He's seen a photo of me, I would presume, because I think the photo on the front page is kind of based off a photo of me standing, like, proud in the mountains. But he's just created this person that is the character. And yeah, in the end, like, now I go back and think as if it was some sort of magical strategy that I've put in place. But because I've got a daughter and it's my first person and this is one I wanted to expose to hunting, and I had some reservations on how to do it and tried to communicate with my wife, it just made sense. It's just like, this is how, and I just looked at it and was like, boys are not going to be turned off from reading this because it's a girl who's hunting. They're absolutely not going to be. I feel that they're growing up in a different world to what we grew up in. And so it has to be. Now that it is, I can't imagine it the other way around. If I did it the other way around, I would just be pandering to the old guard, or maybe just because I feel like it had to be, or I just feel like it would be wrong now for it to be the other way around. It's like, this is the person I'm going, like, the first person that I'm teaching my way of life to is my daughter. So it just has to be. But I'm writing more books, and I will play around with that, of course. But once you start writing from the perspective of a young female trying to get into hunting, and just having confidence and showing like that the pathway is there, and it's just down to what you got to be interested, you got to be passionate, you have to pass the test. Like it's not just going to be opened up to you, and that's the same for a boy or a girl. But a boy has a natural inclination towards it generally because of their exposure in life. So a girl has to work harder because it's not necessarily just going to come to them unless their parents really provide that pathway. And this is kind of me saying permission is granted, not that you need it. Yeah,
it's awesome.
You're seen. If you're into it, you're seen, and you can do it. And don't let anyone tell you you can't. Like you want to go after it in Australia, in New Zealand, like. There's nothing. You've got the same rights as everybody else. Go and do it. If you're keen, learn. No. I had to figure it out on my own, with a bit of help from people. It was easier for me, mind you, because people just were, oh yeah, you're a bloke and you want to learn how to hunt. Great. And they all just took me under their wing. That doesn't always happen for young females. They probably just think that they're trying to get Insta famous or something. And there are plenty that's the case. So yeah. And then she's wearing like the old, like kind of hunter, the army camo as well. And that was the illustrator. I never directed him. Obviously, I didn't want to brand it, but he just came up like that's his perspective of what a person who hunts in the mountain would look like. Well, this girl hunter has obviously gone to the Aussie disposal store and bought clothes to wear when she's out hunting. There's no it's not a fashion contest. It's a practicality thing. I need to be in those colours, so I'm not seen by the quarry. So I'm glad he did that, because that's kind of, I doubt he did it consciously. He just probably did it. It's like, what does a hunter look like? All right, look up camo, and just drew camo, top to tail camo. It works.
It's awesome. We got a growing female population of hunters. I've had a bunch on since I've started the podcast, and a lot of newer ones. This year we've had Cass on. We've had I hate when you forget names, but we've had some.
It feels really disrespectful, but it's just like we all
chat to so many people,
thousands of people. Yeah.
But it seems to be a growing demographic in the hunting community, which is awesome. And you're seeing a lot of dads taking their daughters out hunting, which is just something that never happened 20, 30 years ago as often as it does now. It's not just like, oh no, this is boys time. No, this is family time. This is boy, girl, whatever. Everybody should feel welcome.
I'll let you in on a little secret with this one, which were not so secret, but this is because there are extra books after this coming out, like different topics and decisions. This is actually a family. It's the dad is a keen hunter, and he's got 2 daughters.
Awesome.
So hence, maybe they didn't get a choice, like you said. They were exposed at a young age, and they're into it, but they choose the pathways of what type of hunting really draws them in. And the eldest one, independent, and has become a deer hunter, and that's what they're passionate about. And they have a bit of success, as you see in the book. And the next book is her younger sister. So it's actually the character, like the book's built into that. It was never intended, but now that I'm there, it's like, who is this person and why are they the way they are? You can explore that, and I do that through my own lens. Like I'm introducing, my daughter's coming to the clay club, wearing the earmuffs, seeing that world, hearing the bangs and constant, and it's uncomfortable, and she doesn't go on camping. They don't want to do it until they've done it. And then they want to go again. Yeah. And it might be getting to eat marshmallows by the fire and getting all these snacks and treats, but it's that they want it. It's you've got to do it. You just got to keep doing it, and exposing them to these things and proving to them why it's awesome. I guess that's teaching people, isn't it? Really, that's like being a parent. It's really exciting stuff. To be the first person to do it in Australia, from what I can tell anyway, and currently the only person who's got something like this out there, but to also do it in this way, part of me wishes that it was a female hunter, and just because I've got a book doesn't mean that they shouldn't be doing it. I want, rising tide lifts all ships. 100%. I'm just opening up the doors, like. Children's literature is missing huge chunks of everyday life. They're not doing it purposely. They're just pendulum swing, you know. They want issues books, and they want to deal with the current edgy issues and really try to educate on a certain pathway, and that's what's getting published and getting picked up. And I'm trying to buck that trend a little bit, and there's going to be a challenge because I'm a bloke who's coming into children's literature. So they were like, you know, you've already had a voice for long enough. You're a white, you know, middle-aged white male. You've had your voice for long enough. That's probably the perspective, and I get it. But I'm trying to express a world that exists and trying to open up all doors and make sure that everything is covered in children's literature, so people aren't forgetting that we are an important piece of the overall picture in this country in particular. And a super important one too. Yeah.
No, I think it's not going to be perceived like that at all. You know, most people in the hunting community have their heads screwed on reasonably well, and it's not a you know, guy versus girl thing when it comes. They just like to see the promotion of it. So I think that, you know, lots of dads that have daughters that they're trying to get into hunting, they're going to see a book like this where the main character is a female hunter, and it's going to be absolutely awesome because, you know, anywhere else in the world it would be a boy hunter, and, you know, the young girls aren't going to.
Well, I've read all of them, and it generally is. Except Beverly, somebody, she wrote a couple, like My First Deer Hunt, My First Duck Hunt, and okay. It's her. Yeah, cool. It's her. And so there is one, no, there's another, and Hunter Vogue. Yeah, so US has kind of explored it a bit, for sure. And so and they're both female writers, so it exists definitely. And I would love to see something created in Australia similar. We've got a female writer writing a boy character in. It's just there's so many like avenues in children's literature and different age brackets and things like that to work on. I'm excited to see where all this stuff goes. And yeah, I've got my own projects, my ideas and things that I'm working on, but I'm only one person with a limited resource, and because I'm self-publishing some of these, and I'm trying to go also conventional, I'm also limited to funds. I can't just keep making stuff and not seeing a return or balancing it out. And at the moment, I'm take quite a heavy loss to put this out there, and trying with a goal of just recuperating that so I can just keep kicking the can down the road. Just get enough back to make the next one, get enough back to make the next one. And podcasting is the same from my understanding from chatting to people. It's like, you're not doing this because you're making money. You're doing it because you love your way of life and you want to share it with people. And you're just trying to cover the cost of the mic and the rental for the recording gear and all that sort of stuff, the recording platform and things like that. Yeah. Yeah,
no, I lose money podcasting, but I do it for the passion, and I get to chat to awesome people from all around Australia and all around the world. You touched on earlier, there's that you don't think that there's enough child literature in Australia. We do have your book here as well, but I'm not sure if you've ever seen the one from Eureka Outdoors, but they do a kids activity book when it comes to hunting. So they've got firearm safety and a bunch of other things on it. It's pretty cool. It got released last year, just before Easter, I think, this year. That's a really cool one, and I'm not sure if you know Mel. What's Mel's last name? But she's down in Victoria. She did all the illustrations for it. It's a really cool book if you want to show your kids that one as well. But the story format that you have here is bloody awesome as well. So what made you want to go down the kids book avenue? Like how long did it take you from having the idea? Like you said that you wrote the poem part of it beforehand, and then you've turned it into a kids book. Like, what was the progress?
Yeah. This one was very much I've had this poem for years, and it was only when I don't even know what really started me thinking about writing children's books, except having kids. And it happens to a lot of people who express themselves through writing. They just kind of go, well, that seems easy enough. I should try that. So I went and did a few courses and found it's actually way harder than you could imagine. And it's not just the writing of it. Like, yeah, you could do a board book with 10 words in it. That's not really writing a children's book. That's just writing how to count to 10. Like, so writing one that's like this, where it follows a story structure. Like, story structures are pretty tight things to be interesting. You got to have a nice quick setup, and then they've got to go through some trials and tribulations. Then there's got to be this kind of climax of an event, like a trigger point and a climax. And then there's got to be that kind of soft resolution and closure that rounds everything out. And the really good books that you get, those big hardcover that win awards and stuff, all follow that, generally will follow that type of structure. Some of them are just beautifully illustrated and the words are very poetic and nice, and they're in a world of their own, but generally they follow that structure. And so when I was doing that course and thinking of ideas and trying to write these books and being very humble, like, first stuff I wrote was just completely rubbish. I was writing, I was telling like what was happening, and I wasn't showing it through action and through dialogue. And then I kind of got around and was like, well, this old poem that I have kind of fits that structure, and rhyming is rhyming is a very hard medium to get into, particularly in child literature, because it's been done a lot, and you've got to be very good to do it, and to do it well. And I did find that some of the books over in the US were missing a little bit on their rhyme and meter and stuff. And I thought, but that's easy to say, hard to do yourself. But this poem kind of already had it a little bit. So with a little bit of polishing, and probably the only thing I regret is not going and getting it like properly edited. But yeah, that's kind of where I got to for this first one. But I've also written others after doing these courses, and then since having ideas and chatting to a publisher. Fingers bloody crossed. I've sent a revised version back, and I'm desperately hoping to get something through that medium, because I like this book. It's great. I'm so proud of it. And, but having the tools of someone who does this as their trade, like picking an illustrator that's perfectly matched for it. And you've mentioned that person's name, and I definitely want to know who they are, because, if I get in up with a conventional publisher and they ask me if I know anybody and what type of drawings I want it to look like, because I get a little bit of that flexibility. They'll ask you for your opinion, and you'll get to work with them with a team. But I'm definitely recommending people is helpful, because I can sort of give them a flavour of what I'm looking for.
Her name just popped up in my head, Mel Gray.
Okay, all right, Mel Gray. So I'm definitely... that's kind of how I got down the pathway of it, and I'm writing more. I'm chatting to publishers, and I'm sort of working on this, also working up in age brackets as well. I've just finished drafting a chapter book, so for that next kind of 7 and up bracket, as well as these other ones I've got for the picture book format, which is the one that's less than 1,000 words, kind of like this one. I've gone to chapter books, which is like 10,000 plus. So, and there is a in between, but generally I've kind of exploring this next one, and I've got a series idea that I want to develop, that 10,000+ word series that I'm working on. And then I want to step up again into young adult fiction, teenage fiction, whatever. So I've got an idea there for a book that I think would be just spectacular. But it's all time, mate. It's all time, and it's all learning. Like, I'm flexing my muscles with it. I've really got to work on it. And yeah, some people will say I've hit a goal with this one because they just love it, but they're in my world and they love it because it is them. It's who they are, and they've finally got something they can use to explain to their grandchildren or their niece or their nephew or their own children. That's so exciting. But I want to also get to the people who aren't even close to being exposed to my world and be able to break down that barrier. And trust me, it exists big time. I know we all talk to each other. We don't see it all the time. But me sitting on a stand trying to sell this thing, even in my own town, and having, like, not selling a single book after 2 hours and having people come and look at it, and young girls, but just that barrier, like there's a hunter on the front with a rifle, and like this has been our history in Australia for the last 200 years or 100 whatever years, this type of stuff going on, yet people won't even stop to look at it because it's so confronting to them because of how much they've been indoctrinated to the other side. I just want to absolutely smash that down completely. and just force people to actually have to use their brain a little bit and just kind of really search into themselves and go, am I really against this when this is the morals and ethics behind it? Am I really against it? Because if I am, I shouldn't be eating meat. I shouldn't be supporting farmers. I shouldn't be supporting our army overseas. Like, you know, if you're really against this, you're against most of the fabric of what this country is about.
Nah, that's it.
And I really just want to kind of get to that, you know.
That's
understand why and see if there is a way back. Can we claw back ground, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I just thought of the best idea. What I'm gonna do next year when my youngest has book week, I'm gonna just drop subtle hints next year and be like, hey, you should wear your camo for book week. Get him all decked out, and then take him to get him to take this book in for book week.
Oh man, it's so good. I'm just keen. I've heard other people say the same thing. They already do it. They wear camo around all the time, and I really, if I get successful with what I'm planning with all this stuff, there will be so much of that kind of like bit prouder, a bit out there, a bit more. But I really want kids to learn this one, and I want to open up competitions where they perform the poem verbatim, or whether they have prompts or whatever. Anyone under 12 can win, like, you know, a full set of hunting camo gear and stuff like that. Like I really hope I can build it to the point where I can do things like that, because we're talking here about like poetry and writing and using your brain and figuring things out and the performative stuff, and that's really important. Kids learn that stuff doing speeches at school and show and tell and things like that, and we can be there too, and breaking down all the stigmas around it by just it being more present and common and normalizing things, because it's like the most normal way of life for the people who do it, and for everybody else it's so extreme. That's really weird that there's no like middle ground, or that the middle ground is so like hush, quiet, that people, you never know someone. Like, I've lived in this town now for 5 years, and I'm running into people now because I've done this. They've hunted this whole time, and I just thought that because my own preconceived ideas, because they walk around barefoot and they like, you know, vegetarian food, that they're just going to be against me, and I'm super scared that I'm now going to break down a friendship or possible friendship, and it turns out they've been hunting this whole time and they're actually on my side. Like, it's crazy. So that's where we've got this polarization, and Australia is not like the way the rest of the world is. We're not there yet. Polarization doesn't completely exist as much as social media is trying. So we do have a bit of common sense that still exists, or at least I have to believe that. And something like this is going to prove that otherwise, or, you know, it's either going to be the common sense is gone and people just can't, it's not palatable to them, to the general populace, or like most people, it takes a little bit and I wear them down and they suddenly tell stories about how they used to hunt when they were a kid with their dad, or they used to go after rabbits, they used to do these things, you know. We've all got those stories in us. Whether it's the traditional people of the country or whether it's, you know, in a modern aspect, everyone's got a history of doing this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have existed as humanity. Yeah, it's in our blood. It's in our DNA. We're all hunters.
Oh, 100%. Like you were saying about the show and tell, like that's all I used to do in show and tell was bring in like animal bits into show and tell, whether it was goat horns or, you know, whalebone or, you know, all this other weird, cool stuff that I found, you know, shells and all of this stuff. And, you know, my youngest son, he's got an antler collection in his room now. You know, he's got 4 of the species antlers in his room
awesome.
that I've brought back from different trips. So he's slowly.
There's kids that are even afraid to touch the antlers because there's something already conditioned into them so young. Whereas my daughter just grabs and runs around and clacks them together and does all this fun stuff with it. So yeah, trying to just break all that down and really explore it. But I'm only one person. Everyone needs to get on board. You know what I mean? And so if you've got kids, or if your sister has kids, or your friend has kids that are into the outdoors or into animals and stuff, you know, it's confronting. This book deals with life and death. It shows the process. Like, you've read it now. It's not afraid of it. I did err at the point of properly butchering a deer in the book, but there's bloody bags of meat in the background, and the kids get it. A 5-year-old understands and goes, "What's it like?" And then they take them 2 or 3 times to understand. Well, but that's where my meat comes from. Like, this has to happen for me to get meat. And so that's kind of, it does all of that, you know. The next one is more of an explanation. So the next book's going to be I Am a Duck Hunter. And it's more of an exploration of what it means to be passionate about something and dedicate time and energy and money. Like the kid helps to fundraise getting their own gun and their mum and dad chip in the rest. Like they kind of, it's a different exploration. It's more of that sense of adventure and pursuing something that you care about and you want to do, and then having success and what that means, and that there's more work that needs to happen. It's not just shooting things for fun. It's like then you've got all this work that comes with it. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's I've joked around about having kids books, like hunting books, for years now, and yeah, it's good to see someone's finally pulled the pin on it, and it's definitely what we need when it comes to, you know, getting the new generations involved. You know, like I said, my kids have had no chance on not learning about hunting, because, you know, that buck that you see behind me, up until we got a new TV, he was up in the lounge room. He was the centerpiece. And so, you know,
the exposure's there from day dot. Yeah,
that's it.
I was the same as you. Like, I kept wishing that someone would do it, and then, but I'm not the kind of person, and like complaining about that fact, and then realizing, well, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And so I took it on, but I do want to do it justice too, and I'm not necessarily the right person to do this the best that it can ever be done, but I am doing it. I'm here, I'm contributing, and that matters. So that's that mentality of I'll never aspire to be the best at it, but I just don't want to be the worst at it. At the moment, I'm definitely not the worst at it. So that's a good start. But there'll be people that just do amazing stuff with this type of avenue. And I went self-publishing, so I owned it fully, and I could do it the way that I wanted to for this stuff. But as I mentioned, the conventional side of it, I want to pursue to the end, because I think it's like genuinely needs to be, we need to open up those doorways to each other and kind of keep the balance. People aren't reading anymore, like, and kids in particular. There's plenty of studies that are suggesting that. And I reckon part of that's because it's not stuff that caters to every single kid that they want to read anymore. So I really want to help buck that trend by presenting this stuff to kids that aren't necessarily book smart kids, but are into the outdoors. This will help, and there'll be words in there that they've never heard of before that they got to look up, and so therefore they've got more vocabulary too.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's funny you said about the reading. You know, I don't think I've read a book since I was 14, 15. Like, I've read magazine articles, you know, hunting magazine articles, all of that. But I've never been a massive reader. You know, I'm pretty dyslexic, so reading and writing don't come naturally to me. But as we were discussing on Messenger the other day, I had Ben Honke on the other day, and I bought a copy of his book, and I'm about halfway through now. And I said to him, I'm like, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to make it, you know, my New Year's resolution for next year, that I'm going to read a few, you know, books. And it just happens that the last 3-4 guests I've had on, the three guests I've had on, yourself, Ben, and another fella from America, have all been authors. So and yes, we can call you an author now.
Yeah, and that's well, I mean, even though I've done it myself, I've basically paid money to be an author. Like, I will call myself one, because I'm published, and my book sits in the National Library of Australia and the State Library of New South Wales, and that is really cool. And this is just how I wanted to start, because I just had to own it. You know what I mean? Like, this one is it's too much for me to present something like this to the conventional industry and expect them just to pick it up. They never would have. It's too much. I had to do it myself, for us, for the people who are already here, and for the people who are tiptoeing on the outside. But the future ones that I'm looking at, I'm really hoping to broaden that a bit more. That's the goal. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I've started reading Ben's book, and I'm gonna get this other fella's books next, you know, in the next couple of weeks. So it's cool, and now I'm able to, you know, read this one as I put my youngest son to bed. I'll give it to the oldest one and see if he'll have a read of it. But you know what it's like with those preteens. But like you said, you're gonna try and start catering and do some books for that age group too. So that could be cool if I can get him interested in that type of stuff. And heck, because my reading's so crappy. It might be well suited for me too.
Well, think about Harry Potter. Like that's youth fiction or whatever, and adults all over the world have read it because you step up into that side of it. So I absolutely expect that the one that I write that is for the 12 plus, that adults will read it and enjoy it because it has to be that good. So that is the goal, definitely. And I know because I'm reading other books that are similar, and I grew up reading all those things as well. And so that's kind of, it's all there. It's in the back of my mind. I don't have the skills yet because I'm developing them, but I know what it needs to be. Like I can picture it. And that's kind of part of setting goals. Is if you can picture that it exists, you can kind of work towards making it exist. And that's kind of what I've been doing with this stuff, is just kind of just biting the bullet and really just stepping out of my comfort zone and putting myself out there. It's a total other. It's so weird to do that. I'm not a salesman, to come on to do podcasts and stuff is not a natural. And to listen to yourself back on a recording it's absolutely not something. It is not a comfortable feeling. To do those things, because there's always the back in your mind, like, why me? Why am I doing it? Why am I think I'm so special? Like the imposter syndrome stuff, it's almost crippling sometimes. And this big time when I'm stepping in front of publishers and stuff, like, it is a crippling feeling because there are people that are the legitimate authors but they haven't had the exposure to this world that I've been in, so they can never do this. And I was realizing, I'm just going to keep waiting for someone to do it. But none of them have been exposed to it. Like, they're in a whole other world because they're book smart people. And I'm both. I've read my entire life and I kind of write a bit, but with the public school system, but I'm also into hunting. And so it's finally that kind of, once I realized that meshed together, and I was like, well, I should be doing it. I should try at least,
Nah, it's bloody awesome to see, man. I'm super happy that we're getting this awesome stuff coming out of Australia, and it's eventually going to hit the world stage. You're getting more and more celebrities showing that they're hunting. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but yes, it's an American, but Jelly Roll just shot his first buck with a bow with Cam Haines in Texas, which is like, he's one of the biggest artists, like music artists in the world at the moment. And his hunting on an open stage. Luke Combs, all of these people. Yeah. And then I've been seeing a few Australian somewhat celebrities lately. What's his name? Honey Badger, the sporting dude. Nick Cummings.
Yep.
He's been posting up that he's been out hunting and doing shooting and stuff like that. So this is what we need for hunting to become. It doesn't have to become mainstream, but less frowned upon.
And all of us who are doing it also, we want it to be genuine. So provided it's got that genuine backing to it. And I think people like Jelly Roll, their entire existence is because of the genuineness of their life. Yeah. Like they're definitely not the poster boys of they've come in through hard work and persistence. So we want to see that as people who are in it as well. We want the right people to come in. We don't want the chicks coming running around picking up wombats just to get famous and stuff, and then you find out that they're also falsifying their where they live and stuff just so they can keep hunting to keep their stream going, and get more followers and stuff. You'll note that I don't have many followers, and I like to think it's a choice or whatever, but it's just because the nature of I've only got onto it recently and stuff like that, but it's not important to me. But I need to sell books as well now. So now I've got a reason to kind of want it to be more successful, and I can understand how that could be a trap that people fall into. So that balance needs to be there. We have to see it, and the only way to see it is through current modern media, but we also want to know that it's genuine, and that's a very hard line to sit on. But yes, you're right. It's getting there. It's definitely getting better, and I think shows like Alone and stuff are exposing people to these things in a different way, and it's not exactly the way that I would do it myself because it's not real. I know it's real, but it's not real. They've been set up in these situations, but not someone who's genuinely decided they want to live in the bush and live off the land as much as they possibly can. It's not that genuine. almost dying and then being rescued. Like, that's not the scenario that most of us are exposed to in a daily life. But filling 1/7 of your own diet with stuff that you've either grown or harvested yourself, that is a genuine goal. And if you can do that and show that, I'm with you 100%, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do too. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think alone's more not so much the hunting side of things. I think that's just more of a survival thing, but it shows the people, because most of those people do hunt in the background. So people start following them on Instagram and Facebook, and then they're going, oh, this person actually hunts. Oh, you know, they're hunting with a bow, they're hunting with a rifle, they're hunting, you know, with an Adelaide,
and they're faced with a
whatever.
choice. Do I approve it or do I not approve it? And that's down to whether they follow or not. And so we're going to get more and more. They go, well, no, I guess I do, because of course they do. Like, and I do too. And I've been doing it my whole life. I've been surviving off the world. I've been surviving off the earth, like we all do. We don't have a choice. And the people who put their blinkers up to it and think, oh, I sit on a pedestal and go, oh no, I don't do this, I don't do that, I don't kill or whatever. But they've been killing their whole lives. To exist is to take from the land. It's just how you take it is what choice you get. And I've decided that I want to try and control that a little bit, and just have and contribute to it, either to grow some of my own stuff so I'm not completely dependent on a system that is being depleted. Do you know what I mean? And so I think a lot of people are realizing that now and starting to go, well, self-sufficiency is kind of a falsity in the modern world, because there's too many of us, and we've so far away from it. But we can definitely contribute in some way. And whether that's you buy from the farm door, and you support them and they get a mobile butcher, and it keeps food miles down and stuff, instead of shipping the cow like to a different state where they've got an abattoir and then getting it packaged and sending it back to you again, when you can just get it direct. Like, making those choices in your life is how you can kind of be a bit like us, and or just supporting us. I barter with people all the time. Like, you know, I'm not as good a fisherman, but I eat crays and I eat tuna. And you know why? Because I've got venison. And those guys who dive for crays and go fishing for tuna have got big boats and they like fishing. So it's a perfect kind of deal.
Nah, it's definitely a good way of doing it. You know, like, I give so much venison away. You know, I got a big 500-liter chest freezer and it's chock-a-block. So, you know, on that new property I was talking about earlier, the main thing that we have to do out there is drop numbers. So we've been doing that as well. And, you know, like I said, like, I don't like wasting meat, but I know the culling side of the you sometimes have to. So, you know, when you're having to shoot a few deer at a time and you can't take everything, I just take what I can and then, you know, butcher it up into primal cuts and give it away at work. And it's just
I just see it as an example of the system maybe falling down a little bit, or maybe we've just been a little bit too lazy overall from all levels of government and individuals. But it doesn't mean it doesn't need to happen.
Yeah,
like they're eating grass, mate. Like, and the farmer has things that they can market, because deer aren't marketable enough for them. So it's happening because we've failed at some point along the line. And we've got a chance to bring that all back around, but we just got to put value onto these things and open up your mind to the culinary delights of things like wild boar and deer and rabbits and all these awesome things that others deem a pest.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
I hold with very high regard, to the point where that's what we eat as our red meat. You know, it is so good, and everybody, like anyone who eats it, like, you know, they're always on board once they've had it.
Oh, for sure. I cook it up at work all the time. We've, you know, occasionally I'll bring a shoulder in and we'll do a slow cook venison shoulder. I've done venison carpaccio. I've done venison tartare. I've done, you know, all these different dishes for guys at work, you know, and it blows their mind. Like, I did the carpaccio and they're like, I'm not eating raw meat. Yeah. Like, you can't do that. I'm like, you can, try it. And they'll all have it and they're like, oh wow, that's amazing. And then when I made up the venison tartare, you know, I got in half an hour before I started work, and that was at 4:30 in the morning, and I was, you know, dicing up the venison and making all the mix and sorting it all out and separating the eggs and getting it all ready, so that way when Smoko rolled around, I could put it all, plate it all, and I had carpaccio and venison tartare on the same plate for a bunch of different guys, and they're like, "I'm not
I
eating."
might come and work wherever you are. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's not bad, but yeah, like I'm not eating chopped up raw meat with a raw egg on top. I'm like, just try it. And they tried it, and I've done lamb heart and venison heart and liver and kidney and all sorts of stuff, and just give it to them and then tell them what it is afterwards, and they're like, oh wow, that's really nice. We did lamb heart tacos at one point. Like, I had to go kill a bunch of feral sheep on a property. The owner wanted them gone, and yeah, I just took all the hearts out of them and chopped all them up and made tacos out of them, and everyone was blown away with how nice the heart was. And they're like, how come we don't eat this often? I'm like, because that's just the way it is.
It's because it's too easy. Everything else is easier and more common, and we've been conditioned. Yeah, like I love heart.
It's amazing.
And you can do raw heart too. I've eaten raw heart. Bit of Khaleesi kind of, not that style, but yeah, yeah. It's a good cut. It's definitely one that I don't leave behind often. Only when shot out, do I leave it.
No, that's it. You mentioned that you're going to New Zealand next year to go chase tar, and what would be your top 5 dream animals anywhere in the world? Money not being an issue. What would be your top 5 dream animals or places to go hunting?
I want to do more hunting in Canada because I've got the other half is from Canada. That's probably the main goal of that. Yeah, but listing a top 5, like I'm not really. I'm definitely. I like to try and be more local. So yeah, I'd like to get a rooster. That'd be nice. A decent sambar stag would be pretty sweet, just because they're just so crazy.
Huge.
Those animals just so huge and crazy. Yeah, like I don't. But then I've got all the work afterwards, so I don't necessarily know I want that. But there's something in me that's they're just amazing animals. I'd like to get like a taxidermy quality duck. That'd be cool, like a mountain duck. Like I've shot various ducks and stuff, but I'd like to kind of explore that side of it, like just looking at something that kind of quality. Hog deer would be pretty cool. Yeah, probably the deer species.
Yeah.
You've been ticking the list, but the deer species would be kind of an interesting exploration into that, and because I'm a writer, I feel like there's something there as well.
100%.
In exploring the histories it's probably a bit like I've got to read a few. There's a couple more Australian books I haven't read that might already go into that kind of pathway, but kind of exploring why they're there, what they mean to the people that are there. And through my own journeys, pursuing each one, there's a book there. Like I could pitch it right now to a company, like to a publisher, and it's definitely a good idea there. So balancing it like that way around would be cool. So yeah, there's at least more than 5 in that.
I'll be down to read that. That's for sure. Especially...
and that's what I was going to say earlier when you talked about Ben Honke's book. Like I'm working on it. It's just. Adult writing is more words, and because I've started this exploration in the children's side of it, I can see myself diving into this for a little while, and it kind of puts that on the back burner. But I've got a few ideas on things that would be up your alley.
Well, Ben's book inspired me that much that I went out trout fishing this morning. I haven't gone that's a lie. I caught trout at a fish farm earlier this year when I went and chased sambar, but
not the same as what he's talking about.
It's not, but yeah, I hadn't fished these streams for eight-ish years now, and I'm just like, you know what? It's a cooler morning this morning. I'm gonna go try, and I didn't catch one. I seen a few follow, and the waters were crappy, but hey, it inspired me to get out. So.
It's all any of us are trying to do.
Nah, that's it. I think we covered, in a roundabout way, the public views on hunting and hunters, and how you're changing it through the book and through writing. So we don't need to jump into them, but this is my favorite question, and it's I should just get into it because people are probably sick of hearing me saying that it's my favorite question and how much I love hearing everyone put it in their own words. But what is hunting to you?
I think it's changed a little bit for me now. I feel like when I started, it was meat, and because to learning that I could, like, just that kind of, well, I'm able to, and I want to for this reason. But it's really changed a lot, and now it's a cultural thing for me now. Like, it's like, it is our family's culture, and I want to hand that on. It's probably the most important thing for me now. And you can see, like, I've moved into children's literature, and that's, I think, underlying the main reason why is having read hundreds of books to my kids now over the last 5 years, just realizing that we're not being represented, and that means that I'm, as my whole culture and the culture of all these other people, including the hundreds of thousands of years of Australian culture before us, are not being communicated at all. And so it must be the main thing that drives me now, because I've put so much energy into it. And so I think that's probably become it. Yeah, hunting as a culture for my family and us as all Australians, you know.
No.
It's first and foremost big tick. It is the right path. And anyone who says otherwise, I used to be afraid of that mindset. Now I just feel sorry for them, that they can't get it, that they just don't understand that we've got the winning formula that is the reason that we exist.
Yeah.
Like, and they just can't see that. It makes me feel really sad for their life, that they're stuck in some ideological bottomless pit that makes them think that this is wrong. I feel so sorry for people that are like that.
Yeah.
So
no,
talking about other people, but for me, it's handing it on to anyone around me who's in my sphere, and just kind of getting them, opening it up for them too.
Nah, that's
because
awesome.
I live in complete regret, mate. Like, I live in so much regret for not figuring this out earlier, and the only way I can fix that in some fashion is to help others not live in regret.
Look, it's funny you say the regret thing, because, like, I regret not getting into deer hunting sooner. I regret not getting into bow hunting sooner. You know, I started bow fishing when I was about 16, and then, you know, 17, 18, I started bow hunting, and, you know, and because I bow hunted so hard, I didn't get my firearms license until I was like 24-ish, and I just kept putting it off, even though that I grew up shooting all my early childhood. So it's just like one of those things. But, you know, if we didn't make these decisions when we did, you know, we wouldn't be here where we are today. So everything happens for a reason, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I live it that way, but then I look at it and go, I wouldn't have done all these things from the perspective I've done them from without growing up and going through the things the way I did. So definitely rounds it out like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for writing the book. Thank you for sending me and my kids a copy. That's bloody awesome. If people have enjoyed what they've heard, where can they find you on social media, and where can they get themselves a copy, and where can they look for more things that you're doing?
So I've just realised, probably after 2 hours, we haven't even actually said what the book is. So the book is I Am a Deer Hunter. I Am a Deer Hunter by Rob Baldinger. It's published by the Venison Diplomat, which is my social tag. So if you look up the Venison Diplomat on either Facebook or Instagram, you'll find me. Or if you look up Rob Baldinger, you'll find me that way. I'm not the motorbike rider in Europe. I'm the deer hunter. I've got a website, so www.thevenisondiplomat.com.au. Look, to get a copy of the book, I've got it on Amazon. It's a print on demand or Kindle. So you order it, they'll print it, and it'll be shipped out within a couple of days. And that's across the world, really. But our printer is in Sydney for Amazon. But I've also done a print run myself. So I've got a copy that I printed through Southern Impact in Melbourne. And that's what I've sent you. The quality of paper and illustration or print quality is much better than what the Amazon would do. So that's my preference, to get more of that out there. And that's the only way to get that is through a hunting store that's stocked it, and there are many that are starting to get on board, or to reach out to me directly. So you can message me on those platforms, or you can email me thevenisondiplomat@gmail.com. And basically for $25, I'll sign and post a copy to anyone in Australia. and look, New Zealand's not actually that much when it comes to postage. It just takes a week or two longer. So happy to do that too. But I'm working on getting, this is the copy that would be in hunting stores. It'll be this version that you've seen with the better paper quality. That's the one I want to promote as much as I possibly can. $1 from every book sale, like I'm counting them up as I go, and will go to various organisations that support hunting and our way of life. So one of the earliest adopters of it is what formerly called Blood Origins, now Wild Origins, and they've started up an Australian branch. So they'll be receiving some of the initial part of what I sell, but I'll change that as time goes on. And if it gets a bit more traction, I'll sort of look at that, who is really supporting and or protecting this way of life. Which shouldn't need protecting, but it just does. It's just the way of the world. And so I want to kind of use some of this to prop that up, because without it, I'd be a very different person, definitely. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. This episode will be the first episode of 2026. So if you're listening to it, your kids, your nephews, your nieces, they'll all be having birthdays coming up. Go get them a copy.
Yeah, I find with children's books, you don't have to wait for a special occasion. If you're into it and you want to entertain your children with something that will resonate with them, they're into the outdoors, they're into animals, they're into hunting particularly, then this is for them, 100%. They will love it. Your 11-year-old, if he was, your stepson, if he was into it. I've got others who have farming backgrounds whose dads hunt, and they kind of are involved in it, and they've read it and they just love it because it shows them they're seen, like they exist, and the kids around them haven't grown up the same way, so they don't understand them, and this book understands them. And so it's really nice to do that and to get that feedback. It's surreal actually to get the feedback like that from people who have just gone, thank you for doing it. It's nothing else that's represented them before.
No, I've already sent photos to a bunch of mates who have just had children, so I'm more than sure that they'll be putting orders in. That they're nothing more they want than to get their kids out there with them. One of them's just had a baby. Another one's a couple years old, and that 4, 5, 6-year-old range as well. So they're all trying to get their kids into it, and it's great to see that now that there's a book, and there's going to be more books out there to get them involved in different ways.
Yeah, well, by the time people listen, then I'm aiming for sort of sometime in February, hopefully for the second book, which will be I'm a Duck Hunter.
Beautiful.
I'm trying to get it in before, for the season, definitely. And for Duck Expo, my goal is to have that ready and printed, so I'll be attending that in person, and possibly also the Mansfield Fishing Expo next year. So. The Hunting and Fishing Expo. So I'm trying to kind of do the rounds a bit more next year. Now this is kind of launched and out and starting to slowly build. But if you want a copy, there's 2 ways. Hit me up directly or hit up your local hunting store and tell them to get in contact, because I wholesale to hunting stores and they put a margin on it. So I make less from that, but they've got the platform, like they've got the store, they've got the walk through traffic. So I want to pair up with any organisations or hunting stores or firearm stores or even just general outdoor stores. So if you want it that way, or you think it's good and you like it, please show it to them and they can make contact. There's no minimum order for those guys. A lot of them just get 10 and try it out. Awesome. One did it the other day. They got 10, and then the next day I'll get an email saying we've sold the first 10. Can you send us another 20? So it sells.
That's amazing.
It will sell in the right environment. It'll sell. So I just need to get it into that environment, and that's a really hard thing when you're a self-publisher. You can only do it through contact.
Yeah.
And contact, cold calling, and just putting yourself out there, and you get so many rejections. It's just part of it,
No,
thanks, but there's no margin. Thanks, it'll take too long to post. Thanks, I'm not interested. You get heaps of that.
It's one of the reasons I reached out. It's we're all in this together, so it's good to help people get out there. That's why I get all these. I enjoy getting all these new podcasters on. Someone starts a podcast, I reach out to them straight away. I'm like, hey, let's get you on. Let's promote your thing that you're doing. And, that's another good way for you to get out there too. There's a couple podcasts that I recommend for you to try and get on. Drew and Cam, Outdoors with Drew and Cam. They're a couple fellas down in Victoria. Their whole thing is like men's mental health and getting people off the couch and families off the couch and getting outdoors, whether it's hunting, fishing, camping, and outdoors. I can transfer you all this. I'll forward it to you afterwards.
It's like, but it's only so much you can listen to, and it's like it's all I listen to is hunting podcasts. But yes. It's just like, there's a podcast for everything, and then there's even more for hunting.
Oh man,
which is great.
I got my Spotify Wrapped the other day, and it was like 74,000 minutes of podcasts last year.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. But yeah, and then Peak Nature's Perks.
Yep.
Lawson White, if you haven't spoken with him, he's another great dude to get involved with.
Yeah, we've been in contact, definitely, yeah. So Nature's Perks is and they're talking about potentially wholesaling the books as well, but I am waiting to hear back. So this might be the trigger.
I'll message him. Lawson, get off your ass.
It's Christmas time and everyone's flat out. It's just I'm not in any hurry either. That's, I guess, the thing here is like, this is just a thing that I'm willing to. It's out there now. I can't take it back. So it's just going to build as it goes. I want it to be organic. I want it to be natural. I don't want to shove it down anyone's throat. Like, I really want people to do it because they have an interest, and because that's the only way to get good support, is just that genuine nature through podcasting and chatting and spreading word of mouth, like the old school form of selling.
That's it. Well, thank you very much, Rob, for coming on. I really enjoyed the chat, and yeah, like I said, I love what you're doing. Keep up the good work, and when you release the duck one and other stuff, feel free to sing out, and we can have more chats about it. We've almost been chatting for 2 hours, but I feel we've only just covered the surface.
I have a habit of doing that. I've been called motor mouth before, and I'd definitely be keen for the duck one. As a piece of writing, it's probably the thing I'm most proud of, and I've gone through an editor with that one, and it's something else. Like, personally, I like it the most out of anything I've ever written. So that one I'll be singing to the hills. So thanks so much for having me, Zach. No, I really appreciate it. And yeah, look, it's the last one for the year for you as well. And so that's really cool. Like, you can have a bit of a break and enjoy Christmas. So, and I look forward to listening to myself. No, I don't. In January.
Yeah, well, you tick off 2. Yeah, you get the last podcast for the year, and you get the first one released for 2026. So that works out perfectly.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Nah, all good. Thank you very much. Catch you later.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Hunting Connection Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our discussions and gained valuable insights into the world of hunting, fishing, and the outdoors. To stay connected with us and never miss out on an update, please be sure to follow us on social media, all at Hunting Connection Podcast. We appreciate your support and would love for you to share the podcast with your friends and family. Don't forget to tag us in your hunting photos on social media and let us know about your experiences. Your feedback is invaluable to us, so please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Together, we continue growing and delivering more captivating episodes for all hunting enthusiasts. Stay connected, stay informed, and keep pursuing your passion for the hunt. Until next time, happy hunting.